Adult SEO is an incredibly powerful niche for SEO that I actually have quite a bit of experience in by accident. I'll come on to that in a minute. And this is one of my clients. They started with us just before August. At that point, they were getting about 800 visitors a month. And already they're up to nearly 2,000 visitors a month within 2 months of starting with us. But how did I get into this niche? So, not long after I quit my day job to scale my agency, I had a metal festival coming up in Prague. Now, I was at a networking event with some entrepreneurs before then, and they said, now that you're free, are you going to be a digital nomad? You got any travel plans? I said, no, not really, but I do have this festival coming up in the Czech Republic, so it'd be great to combine that with a conference of some sort. And this friend, who runs quite a high-ranking finance site in the US, his eyes lit up and said, you could go to TES. It was finance and crypto, forex, gambling, and a little bit of adult and dating. Got there, and it was all adult and dating. So tried to make the best of it, but I wouldn't say it was a particularly valuable conference for me. But it did mean I got to hang out with some of the top SEOs in the world. Here you can see me with Craig Campbell and Todd Foster. Craig Campbell's been a fantastic mentor to me. Todd Foster is quite quiet these days. He's still running an agency. But even Charles Float, for all his reputation, credits Todd Foster as being one of his greatest mentors. So this is how some events, even when they don't work out quite the way you intended, they can actually have much bigger payoffs down the line in terms of the people you meet. At that conference, I realized just how powerful adult affiliate SEO actually is. Because what you've got to realize about these products is, even if they're reasonably, we can leave out all the seedy stuff, even quite mainstream stuff struggles to advertise on normal ad platforms. So Facebook and Google ads, a lot of these systems are actually off limits for these kinds of advertisers, even if you've got a healthy brand that's mostly positive, but just because it's classed as adult means they can't advertise effectively. Whereas SEO is this wide open field where Google doesn't really filter out search results, at least not to that extent, thank God. Because of that, the budgets that are available for affiliate SEOs are actually much higher. We had, whilst at that conference, loads of affiliate managers coming to us saying, you're an SEO. SEO is the best converting traffic we've got. Would happily work out a special commission rate for you. Talking about 30% on some really quite expensive products for what you might expect. If we just have a look at the popular affiliate network ShareASale, which is a really good place for affiliate research, because you can see not only the percentage per sale, but also the actual earnings per click per 100 clicks, which gives you an idea of how well something is actually converting. Because you could have a 50% commission rate, but if no one buys it, then you're not actually making much money. So if we go through some of these adult brands, then we see Love Honey, 20% per sale. That's actually on the power rank, which means it's within ShareASale. That's their own native sort of bestsellers list, if you like. So overall, a lot of the EPCs aren't that great, but then you do get some good surprises. But fundamentally, we're looking at some of these commissions that are involved that are really, really high. Good ones, WeVibe, quite high-end Bluetooth toys, Womanizer.com, 15% per sale, quite high up in the power rank. Earnings per click of $56. This is way ahead of something you'll get with just Amazon affiliate. So because of this combination of affiliate managers offering me really good deals, plus the existing affiliate commissions out there in the market, plus it's not actually that competitive a niche, I've been playing around with this quite a lot. So this is one of my AI websites where you'll see my autoblogging.ai case study where I published 500 pages of AI content. This was a similar sort of process, and you can see it just took off massively back in June. So actually getting some decent traction on that just with plain autoblogging.ai content. Was an expired domain. So allow me to give you just a very basic tutorial of how adult SEO works. It's not that different from other niches, but there are just a few subtle nuances that you should be aware of. So first of all, if we look at keyword difficulty, in theory, it's not that competitive. So best vibrator 4, that's probably my best way I recommend for finding lower competition, more longer tail keywords where the competition's not so high. And need to choose one of these that's not going to get me flagged by YouTube. Okay, United States. Best vibrator for couples. Now, first of all, remember, normally I like to talk about cost per click a lot when it comes to how valuable a niche is, but don't forget it's slightly skewed with adult SEO because a lot of these advertisers aren't able to advertise effectively with Google Ads. So you can be a little bit dubious about the CPC. A more sort of white hat niche like this probably isn't too skewed, but it depends how far you want to go down the rabbit hole of adult SEO. You may well be finding keywords that advertisers just can't bid on. But the underlying value there, if you want to go for those niches, is actually very high. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the sort of cleaner side of adult SEO does have a lot of the same problem as other affiliate niches, where you've got these massive brands like New York Mag, GQ, Good Housekeeping. They're all trying to compete for these affiliate keywords. So you do need to dig down and actually find better niches, basically. So here's a slightly more niche keyword. I'm not going to read it out just in case that flags up on YouTube and gets my video restricted. Now, if we come down here, again, we've still got these big magazines like Cosmopolitan going after them, which is really annoying. In fact, we've actually got two Cosmopolitans here. Looks like the US and the UK one, yet we're still looking at US. So that seems to be an effect from the latest Google update. See my video on that. It used to be that you wouldn't get 2 pages from the same site ranking, but that seems to be a thing at the moment. But anyway, let's ignore that. If we look at the DR of 37 at number 1 and DR of 43 at number 4, then that tells us this isn't a particularly competitive niche, and they're getting 4,000 visitors per month, probably more like 5,000 or 6,000, because Ahrefs tends to underestimate. But my warning here is don't forget that with these more aggressive niches, you might actually find there are more black hat tactics going on, specifically PBNs and also CTR manipulation. So a PBN is basically where you rebuild an old expired domain. I talk a lot about expired domains on my channel. So if you've got an event, a conference, something like that, so you call it My Conference 2012, conference comes and goes. In the meantime, you get lots of publicity, lots of links pointing at that website, and then conference is over, you don't need the domain anymore, so you let it expire. But an SEO comes along, grabs that domain name, and that's got all these links pointing at it, so they can rebuild that domain name and basically use it to link to themselves or their clients. And that's then a very powerful link, because this site has got all these websites pointing links at it, but it's not linking out to everyone. So instead, it just links through to this one owner's website, their money site, if you like. And that therefore has a lot of power. And that's absolutely against Google's rules. Obviously, Google says a lot of things. We don't necessarily heed all of them. But PBNs in particular, that's something you've got to watch, just from a competition level like this. Because as part of the process of building PBNs, they are called private blog networks, and you want to keep them private. So they will actually exclude crawlers like SEMrush, Ahrefs, so that those links don't actually show up on these tools. So what that means is those links don't get factored into the DR calculation. So sometimes this can catch you out. There are certain niches where you might have a look and see there's loads of low DR sites, but you're completely forgetting that there could be thousands of links pointing at these sites that are not registering on Ahrefs, and so the actual power, the actual DR, is much higher. Now you can see this if you go into a really shady niche and just search escorts. If we come down here, then yeah, I'm fully okay with anything that's fully consensual and lawful. I think this very much depends on geography and the exact style of transaction that's going on here. But from a purely objective perspective of if we were to try and rank for this and what the competition is like, now we can see there's DR34 with callescort.org, and then we've got DR34 of escortbabylon.net, both getting significant traffic. But how is it that these two DR34s are managing to rank with all these high DR70s and 80s on page 1 for this very competitive term? And despite what I said about CPCs being affected by what you are and are not allowed to advertise, one way or another, there's a lot of traffic value behind these terms, partly through sheer volume. The CPC, yeah, it's very low, it seems. But even then, the sheer volume of traffic for this particular search means those are very valuable pages. Now, I don't believe these DR34s for a moment. I heavily suspect that there are a lot of PBNs pointing at these kinds of sites. And not forgetting that link building is actually very difficult for this niche. I'll come on to that later. So fundamentally, for keyword research for adult, watch out for these outliers. What you might think is a low DR site might not be. This applies to every niche, but I think the adult niche is particularly affected by these particularly aggressive black hat tactics. So watch out for hidden PBNs. What to watch with keyword research, and particularly in the adult niche, is CTR manipulation. So you can get robots or indeed humans to actually search your keywords, find your result, and click on it and engage with it. And therefore, over time, Google actually sees your result is much more popular and therefore getting better retention. So therefore puts your result higher up on Google. So that's just a little manipulation tactic a lot of SEOs use. It can work very well. So I'm not dead against it by any means. But what it can do is actually influence the search volumes in tools like Ahrefs. And this can be manipulated. So in this case, sometimes I'll just have a look at what are the most searched terms on the internet. And again, adult SEO comes into that a lot. But one of the top search terms I'm always seeing is this SEO company Primelis. I think they've also got best SEO company Primelis. There is no way that 45,000 people a month are searching these terms. Let me zoom in a bit. So SEO company Primelis, 62,000. Best SEO company Primelis, 45,000. And yeah, overall volume 62,000. There was a point where top SEO called James Dooley was playing around with this trick and actually using it to influence other bloggers. Because what you find is when you massively inflate the search volumes in tools like this, you get other bloggers who are just trained, especially teams, remote teams, who have just been trained, look out for really popular search terms in this niche and write content around it. And therefore they get coverage cleverly manipulated. So James Dooley was able to create massive search volume around why is James Dooley the best SEO in the world. So now if you search James Dooley best SEO, then you've suddenly got all these bloggers who've found that keyword and written content around it. So bloggingtips.com, why is James Dooley the best SEO in the world? That's actually him. We can ignore that. That's his site as well. He owns FatRank. Chase Rayner, why is James Dooley the best SEO in the world? Spy Onion, why is James Dooley the best SEO in the world? So really very clever trick, reverse manipulating the source data to influence other publishers. Now, the manipulations are no longer happening, so that's now gone from Ahrefs. So you can't see any traffic appearing on these results, but it did used to be there. Tactics like this also affect my link building agency, because most agencies, when they build links, they'll only focus on DA or DR and authority, but they don't actually check if that DR is real or not. Is it actually legitimate, or has it been manipulated? So as part of our lengthy screening process for our high quality backlinks, we make sure that every link we can get, basically every website we can get a link from, gets checked to make sure the DR is accurate, but also the traffic is accurate. Because there's loads of search terms out there, and if you are running what's called a link farm, basically a site deliberately built for selling links, then you'll go after search terms like this, and your actual analytics won't show any traffic. But tools like Ahrefs will show you getting massive traffic because you're ranking for these fake, artificially inflated keywords just because you rank at a certain position for this uncompetitive search. So there's one here, SEO company Primelis.net, DR of 1, and yet they're getting 10,000 visitors per month. So if I wanted to build a link farm, I would get an expired domain. I do lots of black hat link building tactics to inflate the domain rating. I'll do a video on that, how you can do that shortly. And then put on loads of this fake content targeting basically fake searches that have high volume in Ahrefs. But what does this have to do with adult SEO? Basically, any black hat niche, be prepared that people could be using CTR manipulation and PBNs. So not only could the DR you're seeing of your competitors actually be much higher than it appears in a tool because they've got loads of hidden PBNs pointing at it, but the keywords you're actually targeting might be getting a lower volume than it appears, because they'll be blasting CTR at their sites, which means a robot is searching the search term, finding the result and clicking on it, which means the overall search volume, a lot of that could just be bots. So just watch out for that. But aside from all that, so one of my most popular client requests for adult SEO is just toys. And it's not that shady and not illegal, anything like that. So how would I actually go about it? So what I recommend is, generally, if you're just starting out, I do very much recommend using expired domains for adult SEO, because you absolutely can build links for adult products. It's just much harder. And again, it's that kind of grey area in terms of what constitutes adult or not. So I think toy is perfectly legitimate. We probably do find about 50% of the sites we reach out to build links do actually come back to us and either have a lot more requirements, increase the price, things like that, or they just flat out won't build links. They'll say, we do not build links to that sort of content. So building links is perfectly possible for adult websites. It's just much harder. And although it's harder for toys, that sort of thing, I suspect the darker you go in terms of things like escorts, pornography, things like that, then it just gets even more harder. So that's where you're getting into things like PBNs and definitely expired domains there. But if you're just starting out, I do generally recommend starting with an expired domain just because it's so much more of a faff to actually go out and get links. In particular, things like citations. I talk about how you can use citations, which are basically listings in local business directories, as a cheap form of very basic starter links. So start a site, throw some citations at it, which just links on local business directories, but doesn't matter who I reach out to, they all generally say adult companies, adult products. They can build the citations, but they don't really stick around too long. They often get taken down. So that's your first hurdle. So even just getting your basic starter links, so citations, social media links, to even PR. So when I started in this niche, I recommend press releases a lot. But I went to various press release portals, and they pretty much all push back saying we can't really do adult content. And this is really annoying thing and I tried to specify them. It's just toys; it's nothing illegal. But even then, there's still pushback. So you're operating in this grey area where, on one hand, perfectly legal, and there's big movement for sex positivity and opening up the conversation, and then others who are saying, "Oh no, we can't talk about that. We can't do that." And that's really a shame because the opportunity is massive in terms of most people don't want to go out shopping for sex toys necessarily, but they're very happy browsing online, fulfilling all their wildest fantasies. If you're just starting out in this niche, I do pretty much recommend using expired domains. And that's what I did in this case. This was a DR of 9 when I started, so not a very powerful expired domain, but it definitely did help out. And I just put very basic AI content on it. At the time, this was back in November, and the best we had for bulk content was Article Forge. That was before Autoblogging AI. And it took months and months, but then suddenly a few pages started ranking. But now we've got much higher quality content with autoblogging.ai, so you should get results faster than that. Adult expired domains are not hard to find. So if you go to Odys, then they've got a whole category of adult domains. So see my link below, and they've got an application process, but if you use my link, you should get in okay. Then we also have SEO.domains. I generally find SEO.domains is cheaper and has a larger inventory, but you do need to do more work because a lot of these sites need a lot more checking for things like trademarks, how good the links are, things like that. Odys is much higher quality, but you do pay for that quality. Expired domains is a whole different ballgame and needs its own video. So thankfully I have done a video on this. I'll put a link to that in the description below. If I forget, please comment and let me know. So expired domains are really useful for adult SEO. Otherwise, I would recommend using an exact match domain. That's what I do a lot. So I've got loads of domains in this niche where basically the keyword is in the domain name, and that'll help you rank a lot. The next problem you're going to run into is ChatGPT actually has lots of ethical wiring, basically, even though you can be writing about a perfectly legitimate thing. So in this case, just found an example from my team. We've got a process in-house for writing content where we use my Powerlever prompt generator, prompt architect. We basically use the correlational tool Surfer, which analyzes your top competitors in Google, gives you all the best requirements you should be using to rank. So you put all that data in here, and then it spits out the perfect prompt at the bottom. The problem with the adult niche is ChatGPT will actually come back to you and say, I'm not writing about that. Kind of like when you're going out building links and these webmasters are coming back saying, we're not linking to that. Even when it does do as you want and writes you an article, you'll then find it flags up this warning saying this content may violate our content policy. If you believe this to be an error, please submit feedback. Your input will aid our research in this area. So it's possible, but it's just a bit more friction. And that's everything with the adult niche with these kinds of products. It's all possible, you just get a bit more friction, ironically. Now, the good news is that, as you know, I'm a big fan of using bulk AI tools, including autoblogging.ai. Again, there's a link to sign up in the description, get it for the best price. And autoblogging.ai, I have had none of these problems. It will take the keyword, go away and do really good content, and you don't get any of this attitude basically from ChatGPT about what you should or shouldn't be writing about. So, like I say, for a niche that's a product that's consensual, legal, why is the AI telling me what I can and can't do? In this niche, highly recommend autoblogging.ai. Even if you're not doing bulk content, they do have the so-called God mode where you can do single pages that's really well optimized. So that works really well as well. About parasite SEO. Again, this is a massive topic. I'll do a full video on it on my channel. Again, I'll link to it below if I remember. But fundamentally, parasite SEO is buying an optimized article on a news website and promoting either your product or your affiliate product that way. Outlook India is a massive example. Now, when they got back to me, included in their standard template, the standard response was, we do not allow adult topics. But why is it if I go onto Ahrefs, they've got one of the top keywords is adult friend finder, and it says, beware, don't join adult friend finder before reading this review, and that's an affiliate post. Now, the requirements I got back were quite specific in terms of the words you can and can't use. So I suspect it's a case of there's no blanket ban on the topic, but you have to craft the content in the right way that you don't trigger any of those banned words. So here I think it's talking much more about partners and dating, and so I don't think it's actually crossing the line that Outlook India has established. So different websites will have different requirements. So again, just a bit more pushback there. So what does this pushback I talk about actually look like? So we're doing all this outreach all the time to high quality sites. A lot of them we have really good relationships with, and so we are able to get certain niches better, and we do generally get a better rate overall. Particularly as when you're doing link building, of course, you want to make sure those links actually stick around. So that's why we really value building genuine relationships with these webmasters, because they know we're going to keep helping them out, giving them business. And at the same time, they know, or we know, that they're not going to take down our link in 2 weeks. So as soon as you do any outreach, there's always got to be that level of trust. How do I know, once I've done all this work to get a link on a site, they're not just going to take it down right away, or in a few months when you're not even looking anymore? So that's why we're confident in guaranteeing all our links. So we make sure we build these really good relationships. But even then, you can see an example here. We usually charge more for adult than this, but we have you at a lower rate. And yeah, I trust you understand that we charge a premium for this. So same thing with casinos, same thing for crypto, basically any really aggressive niche. Most webmasters, CBD is a big one as well. So webmasters will often have either a blanket ban on that kind of content, or they'll just have more restrictions in place. But thankfully, we've got the scale to get around that. The final issue you might run into with this niche is simply your team. You don't want to be a one-man band. So any business you build, make sure you're able to actually outsource that effectively. And especially with workers around the world with different cultures, they might have different requirements, different ethics on these kinds of topics. And again, we talk about adult SEO. This is a huge niche. On one hand, you've got really shady stuff that is borderline illegal. On the other side, you've got perfectly legitimate things you can buy on the high street. Now, in my case, I started exploring this niche for affiliate purposes, and I went to my team and I said, are you comfortable writing about these topics? And I will always remember what my top writer said to me. And he said, I am a professional writer. Whatever you need me to write about, it will be done. So I was very grateful for that. And my team have had no problem in, as we've been getting more and more adult clients, we've had no problem in actually scaling that. And that can make for some very entertaining conversations on Slack, where we're saying we're going after this keyword, some really obscure thing, having to write content for it, and then we're going out and building links saying, would you mind linking to this very obscure interest that some people have? Who am I to judge? Who am I to shame? But it is important that you've got that culture fit there, because that might inform how you actually build your team. So in my case, I've actually done really well out of referral business, where other agencies have been generating leads and finding they're getting a lot of adult leads coming in, and their team are not comfortable with that niche. So my team are. So I've actually done really well taking in those leads from referrals from other agencies. So you just need to make sure you're working with the right business partner. So if you do want to outsource and scale your own SEO traffic in the adult niche, then by all means reach out. We have the expertise, we have the capacity, and we're willing to do it as long as everyone's happy, it's consensual and legal. So do feel free to reach out, and I hope this is helpful.